Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, this is Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories and music. It's Memorial Day weekend, so let's do a special episode saluting our veterans. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Jess, thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here.
You have some very, very intriguing military history in your family. You served in the military.
I was with the 151st Air Wing for the Air Guard and also the 151st Civil Engineering Squadron. And what I did for civil engineering was EOD, which is explosive ordnance disposal.
So you got to do boom stuff.
Well, I figured if I was going to go into the military, I wanted to do something I couldn't do anywhere else.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I have to admit, that does sound, on the one hand, it sounds really fun. On the other hand, it sounds kind of scary.
Well, when I was in basic training, my TI, when he found out what I was doing, he just shook his head and walked away. He left me alone after that.
It's like, do not mess with this lady, she can blow your place up.
Yep.
So have you had any other family, kind of tradition in the military?
I have lots of family in the military. My dad was in the Navy in Vietnam, and my grandfathers were both in the military. My dad's dad, Frank Long, he was a major in the Army. My mom's dad, Eddie Janik, he was in Austria, World War II, all of that.
You've got a bell.
I do.
What's the story behind the bell?
The bell is my dad's. He served on the USS Albatross, and it was decommissioned while he was over in Japan, and they had to throw all the weaponry into the sea. It was really strange listening to him talk about that. He was able to bring the bell from his ship home, so I have his bell now that he's passed away.
Man, those are hard to come by. What does the military mean to you and your family?
To me, it means a lot. This country is a great country, and we need to do what we can to protect it. And serving in the military, you are a part of something much bigger than you. You know that you're there to protect others who cannot protect themselves.
Now, I know family means a big deal to you.
It does.
And this country was made from people coming from all over the world. And so you and I have talked about this before, and we have some common homeland, if you will. So my mother's 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 mother, okay, how's that, 5, okay, is a woman by the name of Anna Maria Leszczynski, okay, and she's from what's now the Czech Republic. And I understand that you've got some relatives from that same general area.
I do. I'm a little closer than
Okay.
you are. It was my great-grandmother who came over from the Czech Republic, Rosa Mašek. My grandmother, Helen Janik, was married to Eddie Janik, who went into the military as well and served in World War II. And that was the USO picture I was telling you about.
What kind of music did the Eddie Janik band perform?
Well, it's the Eddie Janik Orchestra.
Oh, excuse me, Eddie
Orchestra.
Janik Orchestra. Okay.
Because it's old school. Full-on Czech polka.
Oh, polka! Okay, so did you do some polka dancing as a little girl?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So if I remember right, there's the saxophone. You got to have a tuba.
Yes.
Okay, what other kind of instruments would have been in his orchestra?
Clarinet, drums, horns. It was like a big brass band.
What instrument did he play?
He played sax and clarinet. I have a clarinet that he purchased, and then my mother played, and the rest of the siblings played, and then my son played it in band.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's cool. So your son got to play his grandfather's clarinet.
His great-grandfather's clarinet.
Wow. Oh, that has got to be so cool.
It is really neat. And we found out it's a pretty awesome specimen because I had to have the pads changed and things. And The people who fixed it were just floored. I played flute and bassoon. Bassoon was my favorite, and did percussion. Music is a big part of my life.
Well, the name of this series is called Jessop's Journal. And my journal has all these marks and kind of scars on it, because to me, life kind of comes with scars. And, it's kind of cool because sometimes you get to help fix scars, I guess. But the last question I like to ask everyone, and it's kind of an esoteric question. So, Jazz Wilkey, how do you want to leave your mark?
I want to accomplish something where I'm helping people or animals, or just to be able to make something great, whether that's just in my own house or with others. I want it to mean something.
I've got to do a lot of crazy things on TV over the years. One of my funkiest ones was with the Red Baron pizza plane. Okay, open cockpit, World War II. So we go up high, and he says, "You ready to go do some tricks?" I'm going, yeah. Okay. So we go up, and then the plane goes 360. I mean, I am just like, hang it on. It's the craziest thing you've done.
Where is Doug broadcasting from next? FollowDoug.com. One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow."
Hi, it's Doug Jessop, TV garden guy at Mill Creek Gardens, where
every day's a great day.
And it's a great day to do all kinds of things, and this is the place to come because of that building right there, the garden center. There are some really, really cool looking potatoes that I've never seen in your place.
Like huckleberry and also all blue.
What's the tips on how to plant those?
Oh, you're going to put them in 3 to 5 eyes per piece, so a piece about this big with some eyes in it. Plant about 4 inches under the soil after you've done some awesome composting, which we have plenty of here at Mill Creek Gardens.
Oh yeah, and Aiden's the guy to help, right? So,
right, you either take a tag or take a picture to the checkout, and we'll load it right there for you out in the parking lot, right in your car, and save you a lot of effort, so you can go home with all this beautiful garden accessories and have a great day.
Broadcasting from Mill Creek Gardens with Lorraine, I'm Doug Jessop, TV garden guy, where
every day is a great day at Mill Creek Gardens.
Ba-ba-ba-ba. Everyone has a story. Stories have power, and sometimes those stories are told through objects, like an old letter. It's time for Treasures Remembered. I want to take you back about 100 years. To 1917, specifically to the spring of 1917. The world is in what's called the Great War. It was also called the War to End All Wars. It didn't quite work out that way, but the United States got involved in the spring of 1917. And there was a young man that was about 26, 27 years old. His name was Arthur Leroy Mower. Guy from a little town called Fairview, Utah. He decided to enlist, and so he was sent to the University of Utah to do his initial training, and then he was shipped out to Omaha, Nebraska. And what is he doing there? He is being trained to be part of the balloon division. Not kidding. Okay, hot air balloon division. They had not quite got the airplanes going as part of warfare, but the dirigibles, okay, we got those. So he was out there and doing his thing. Well, he got sick. A lot of people got sick in Omaha, actually. And, the thing that's interesting is, why do we know all this stuff? Because somebody wrote it down. Somebody took the time to leave their mark. And to me, stories do have power. And one of the most powerful things is the letter that survived over 100 years from Arthur to his parents. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read that letter kind of let you go back in time. Florence Field, October 16th, 1918. My dearest folks, received the most welcome cake and the envelopes the other day. Glad to hear from you. I'm getting well the Spanish flu now and will have almost had it for about 3 days, but was quite sick the other night. My fever went to 105 degrees. It's mighty bad news. From 10 to 30 people are dying every day in Omaha, and many are dying at the fort. 2 more men of the 46 died in the hospital night before last. Out of less than 150 men in our company, 44 are in the hospital, and 25 were quite sick in their tents. The ones who can fear this dreaded disease the most, according to the doctors, are those who are diseased and the heavy tobacco users. 2 airships came here yesterday to be used with our balloons. This company is all prepared and ready to leave. We are well, even with the replacements from the other companies to fill up. We should be leaving in the next few days, if not more than 2 weeks. I don't think the war will last much longer, according to the Omaha newspapers. Tell me if you received my suit order and my moving orders. Goodbye and God bless you. Your loving son, Arthur. I realize that letter was over 100 years old, but isn't it amazing that somebody wrote it down? Somebody left their mark by recording that, and now we have that. What's sad is the fact that that was the last letter that he sent his parents. He died 7 days later of the pneumonia. Complications from the influenza. I'm the TV hat guy. All my hats have a story. This hat is called the Glen, named after someone very special to me, as well as the Glens of Scotland. Using a credit card online. You take it for granted. This next guy is the person that helped make it happen. Roy, it's time to sign into Jessop's journal. With me today, Mr. Roy Banks. Roy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Now, just so you know, it's this guy right here, that if it wasn't for him and what he did, you would not be paying for stuff on Amazon. just saying. So we're going to get into that a little bit. But Roy, number one, I looked at your profile and there is so much stuff to talk about. I'm not even quite sure where to start. So let's kind of start from the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Amsterdam.
Ah.
In a little village called Zeust. My father was in the Air Force, met my mother in Germany, was reassigned to Amsterdam, and voila, that's where I was born.
Okay, so then, military guys, it's kind of hard to pin down, quote unquote, where you grew up, but was there a particular place you called home?
Yeah, we lived in a number of countries, spent time in the Philippines as well, lived in a number of different states, just as a typical military brat, you just kind of follow your father wherever he goes. Mm-hmm. Actually loved the idea of being transferred every 3 to 4 years, got to know a lot of different people, cultures. But after my dad retired from the military, we moved to Great Falls, Montana, which is where one of the places my dad was stationed during his time in the Air Force. And that's where I went to high school and ended up graduating from high school there. So I think Great Falls, Montana is kind of home and where I was kind of, raised.
A lot of the time when you get military families, you kind of follow in the footsteps. So did you by chance join the Air Force?
I actually served in the United States Navy. I was going to college at the time, and I had recently gotten married, had a child, and you know what? I was working 3 jobs, going to school, not doing anything very well. Trying to put food on the table and trying to turn in good grades in the classroom and trying to be a husband and a father just wasn't working. And so financially we were strapped. My son at the time, a young infant, went into the hospital. We racked up a lot of, he had a respiratory infection and racked up a lot of bills. And so I just felt like, you know what? I'm familiar with the service. And I woke up one morning and I said, I'm going to join the service. And went into the Air Force recruiter, and he told me I couldn't get in for 9 months. And I was like destitute. I needed to get into the service. And so on my way out from the Air Force recruiter's office, the Navy recruiter stops by, and he had already known. He said, couldn't get in, huh? And I said, yeah. He says, I can get you into the Navy in 2 months. And And I said, sold. So anyway, I proceeded to join the Navy at that point.
So what did you do in the Navy?
I was a software engineer in the Navy.
So you've been a first as a African-American CEO at a variety of companies.
Yeah, I have.
There's one that I want to talk about. Okay, I know that you're the CEO of Weave right now, which is pretty cool. We did a story on that. But there's this one company that I went going, oh dang, I got to talk to this guy. Okay, so Authorize.net. Now, for the people out there that don't know, Authorize.net is the guys that basically came up with e-commerce. How in the world was that like?
Well, I'm not the founder of Authorize.net, but I was part of the early management team of that company. A gentleman by the name of Jeff Knowles was responsible for starting the business and had the vision for making it possible, listen to this, making it possible to accept a credit card payment on a website. That's something that we take for granted today, right?
Exactly.
It's like, you think that it's ubiquitous, it's expected. But in the mid to late 90s, that was not something that a lot of us were familiar with. In fact, when I first was recruited to join this young startup, I thought it was ridiculous. I'm thinking, wow, why would anybody want to do that? Because at that point in time, the internet was really just kind of like a brochure site. It was like where people went to learn and obtain information. And in fact, I rebuffed them the first time they came at me. That shows you how things have changed for me because, I don't know that I was fearful of technology, but I didn't appreciate it for what it could do. And so after my first refusal, they came back at me. A good friend of mine named John Bodine really worked hard to have me come on board. And I saw the vision and I said, oh my goodness, this is going to be revolutionary. We are actually going to create a new medium in which people can conduct business. And we're going to make things that are accessible, that were once accessible to people just in a small local community, available to the world. And so the technology was basically to make it possible to enter a credit card number into a web form, take that information and process it the same way that a retail point of sale machine processes at a retail store and authorizes a transaction. And that company, we watched, we went from hundreds of customers to thousands of customers to 10,000s of customers, from hundreds of transactions to thousands of transactions to millions of transactions and billions of dollars that we processed. And we would like to think that Authorize.net we put the E in e-commerce. We were part of there were other companies doing it, but we literally became one of the more successful early pioneers that help really transcend into this new digital economy.
Is brick and mortar dead?
Not at all. I think the thing, I'm the CEO of Weave, and I can tell you that, our whole business is servicing brick and mortar, and our business is growing, and we see certain verticals thriving. And the reason for that is because they adapt. They leverage technology to serve and meet the communication and engagement and experience needs of customers. And so the brick and mortar companies that don't survive are the ones that fail to adapt to technology.
Good point. So Roy Banks, how do you want to leave your mark?
I want people to remember me and to know that the work that I've done came because I'm not perfect, but I strive for perfection. I tell people I make a lot of mistakes. I do. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm about personal refinement, trying to improve every day. Just to get personal just for a moment, Doug, I used to have an anger problem. Had to go to therapy. That's, to submit yourself to mental health guidance and support is, that's a tough thing for a lot of people, because you don't want people to think negatively of you, but I'm proud of the therapy that I've received and the outcome of that. Do I still get mad and angry? Yeah, but I'm better for it. But I'm trying to be better every day, and I just want people to know that I believe that when you think of me, it's not my success, it's not the financial rewards that I've had, it's the way that I've been able to help others fulfill and live up to their potential. Because that's what I believe we're all here for, is to uplift others. And it sounds very trite, sounds very parochial, but at the end of the day, if I can just lift one person up and make them better and help them, whether it's personally or professionally, boy, if that's what I am, if that's the sum of everything that I've ever done, I will have been the most richest man ever, because man, there's nothing better than to leave an indelible mark on an individual and lifting someone else up that didn't believe in themselves, but saw in you what they could become. What a beautiful way to really pay it forward and to pay it back. So that's how I leave my mark.
Holidays are a funny thing. I mean, on the one hand, they can be joyous, and the other hand, let's get real, they can be a little stressful. But there was one holiday, Thanksgiving. Makes me wonder, why do we think about what we're thankful just one time a year? So here's a question I have for everyone out there right here, right now. What are you thankful for this very day, this very moment?
Where is Doug broadcasting from next? FollowDoug.com.
One of the last things that my grandfather said was, "Please remember me." Well, Sergeant Michael Russo remembers his grandfather with something special.
I am a 17 Echo electronic warfare specialist. It sounds a lot cooler than it is. All opinions are my own and not the Department of Defense, as I am not a public spokesperson for the National Guard or the military or the Department of Defense.
Why are you in the military?
My grandfather joined years and years ago. He volunteered for World War II, and I've always felt a connection to him.
Tell me about your grandfather. What was his name?
His name was Gennaro. He was born in Italy. Gennaro Luigi Russo.
Where did he serve? There were certain battles that he was in.
The most notable one that people would recognize, the Battle of the Bulge. Movies have been made about it, that kind of stuff. He drove an M4 Sherman tank. Crazy cool stories from his battalion. It's a 707 tank battalion. At one point, while the battle was going, a lot of these tanks actually ran out of fuel, ran out of oil, and so one of his big stories is that he had to walk 20 miles back across the enemy lines.
I understand that you did something special to remember your grandfather.
It was my first tattoo, actually. I got a tattoo. It's actually his World War II insignia. And so it's from the 5th Armored Division. He's 707 Tank Battalion, 5th Armored Division of the 81st Armored Regiment.
Now I noticed some Greek letters.
Those are actually fraternity letters, the Kappa Sigma, Rho Phi chapter. And those are actually being removed right now.
Why?
I did the wrong placement.
You got a tattoo, you like the tattoo, but it's in the wrong place. How are you getting it removed?
I'm going through a company called Tattoo Away.
Describe the process.
She'll do these little dots. She'll draw them out, probably spaced, I don't know, a couple millimeters apart. And then she will take what looks very similar to a tattoo gun, and she will remove the top layer of skin. It's very similar to getting the tattoo. Kind of the same look, if that makes sense.
What happened after she did that first treatment?
Basically, the area scabs up a little bit, and eventually the scabs will fall off on their own, and the scabs will be the color of the tattoo. It will actually remove the ink off of the body entirely.
What makes you smile? Spry xylitol toothpaste makes me smile. I think it might help you too.
I've interviewed lots of people over the years, and I have this little routine where I ask them some warm-up questions. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to have you guys answer this, right there on your couch. So, number 1, sushi, yes or no? Number 2, dark chocolate or light chocolate? And number 3, what's up next? Everyone has a story, and sometimes those stories are told through music. It's time for Jessop's Jukebox with the music group Cinders. Now they've got this awesome new video coming out, and it talks about growing up. And let's just say that watching that, I'd be called Ted, they'd be called Teddy. Okay, to get the details, you gotta watch that. But with their new song, Growing Up, it's Cinders.
So funny how growing up is also this way. Why'd we even start? I'm over this too old for it. I bet you thought that growing up would make you more mature, but I feel more like a kid than I ever did before. I'm over this too old for finding peace of mind in pieces all the time. I guess that's just the way it goes. It's breaking by design. Yeah, yeah! Everybody wants a piece of me, and I don't know why. There are only so many parts before I roll over and cry. I'm over this too old for it. And I'll try to do the things that keep me moving on. My heartbeat will beat until it's greeted by the sun. I'm over this too old for it. Why do I owe these things? I'm over this, but I'm old enough to know that I'm not who I thought I'd be by now. Growing up shouldn't even be allowed. Why do I owe these things? I'm over this, but I'm old enough to know that I'm not who I thought I'd be by now. Growing up shouldn't even be allowed. Why do I owe these things? I'm over this, but I'm old enough to know that I'm not who I thought I'd be by now. Growing up shouldn't even be allowed.
Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we shared powerful, positive, and inspirational stories and music on this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, veterans, for all you do for us. Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another episode of Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.